Hello guys and welcome to this chess tutorial. In this video you'll learn how to play chess. At first it might seem very difficult, but trust me, it's an easy game to play once you get to know the basic rules. So let's get into it. In a game of chess, you win by checkmating your opponent's king, which means attacking your opponent's king with your opponent having no way to defend against your attack. We will see this principle later in the video, but first, let's see how to place the pieces on the board. In a game of chess, you basically have two players, the white player and the black player. Each player has the exact same pieces on the board. Let's see what they are. First, you've got the pawns, which are the 8 small pieces right here. Here are the white ones, and here are the black ones. Then you've got the rooks. You have 2 rooks on the board. They are placed right on the edge. Here are the black ones, and here are the white ones. Then you've got the knights. The knights are placed on the inside of the rooks. You also have 2 of them. Here are the white knights, and here are the black ones. Then on the inside of these knights, you've got the bishops. You've got 2 of them as well. Here are the black ones, and here are the white ones. Then you've got your king and your queen. To know how to place your king and your queen, there is a simple rule to follow. If you're the white player, you're going to place your queen on the white tile, and your king will be right next to it. And if you're the dark player or the black player, you're going to place your queen on the dark or black tile, and your king right next to it. So we just learned how to place the pieces on the board. Now we're going to learn how to move those pieces around the board. So as we said, we have 2 players, the white player and the black player. It's usually the white player that starts. The white player has the first move. Now on your turn, a player should move a piece and cannot just skip or pass his turn. He should move a piece. So let's say we are the white player and our opponent is the black player. So we're going to start with the pawns. The pawns can only move in a straight line. And when the pawn is on its initial tile, it can move 1 or 2 tiles to the front. But when the pawn isn't on its initial tile anymore, it just can move 1 tile to the front. So let's see an example. Here the pawn is on its initial position. We're going to move it 2 tiles to the front. Here our opponent decided to move it just 1 tile to the front. It's our turn again. We decide to move this pawn 2 tiles to the front. Now you can see that the black player wants to move his pawn again, but can only move it 1 tile to the front because the pawn isn't on its initial position anymore. Now, to see how a pawn eliminates another opponent, the only way a pawn can eliminate his opponent is by going diagonally 1 tile to the left or to the right. So we are the white player and we want to eliminate the black pawn. We can go 1 tile diagonally to the left and the black pawn is eliminated. Now the black pawn moves again 1 tile. It's our turn again, and we can eliminate him by going 1 tile diagonally to the left. Let's say we decide not to eliminate our opponent. We can still move the pawn 1 tile to the front like that. But now the black player can move left diagonally 1 tile and eliminate our pawn. One more thing to note is that the pawn cannot move backwards. It can just move forward, and it cannot eliminate an opponent by going backwards diagonally. It can only eliminate an opponent by going diagonally forward. Now let's move to the second piece of this tutorial, which is the knight. The knight moves in an L shape, 3 tile L shape, so it can go 1, 2, 3 to the right, or 1, 2, 3 to the left, or you can see here 1, 2, 3. It's always 3 tiles and it's always in an L shape. The knight can go forward and backwards and diagonally in whatever direction it can, but it should be a 3 tile and L shape. So 1, 2, 3, let's say. Now let's move our knight. We can go 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So let's say we put our knight here. Now the knight can eliminate another piece on the board by moving in an L shape and landing on the exact tile of our opponent's piece. So let's say our opponent now moved his pawn 1 tile to the front. Now we're going to move our knight. You can see in the light color where our knight can land. Again, an L-shaped 1, 2, 3. It can go backwards 1, 2, 3. It can go forward 1, 2, 3. You got the idea. So now we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, land on the tile of our opponent and eliminate his pawn like that. So now the third piece we're gonna learn about is the bishop. The bishop can move in a diagonal line as much as it wants, except that if there is like a piece blocking our bishop can't just go over it. It will be limited to the space available to it. So the bishop on the white tile should stay on the white tiles, but can only move diagonally on them like that. So let's say now we're going to move our pawn 2 tiles to the front, and our opponent is going to move his knight in an L shape like that. So it's our turn again, and this bishop on the dark tile can move diagonally and can stay and should stay on the dark tile. Now it's our opponent's turns. The bishop can move forward and backwards. So we can take the bishop back like that. So now we know how the bishop moves. We're going to see how the bishop can eliminate another player. So let's say we moved our bishop here. Our opponent moved his bishop right there. And we moved our pawn 2 tiles forward. Now the bishop right here, as we said, can move in a diagonal line, but should stay on the white tiles. So here the bishop can go diagonally, stay on the white tile, land on the piece on our pawn right there, and take its place and eliminate our pawn. Likewise, it's our turn now, and we can take our bishop, move diagonally, and eliminate our opponent's bishop like that. There you go. Now we're going to move to the rook. So the rook can move vertically and horizontally as much as it wants, but cannot go diagonally or in another position. It can go forward and back, but should stay vertically or horizontally. Let's see. So now it's our turn. We're the white player. Our rook can go like that, straight line, but it can't go further because we have a piece blocking it. So like that. Our opponent as well can move his rook right there. It's our turn again, and you can see that we can move our rook in the highlighted cell, so we can go as much as we want horizontally and as much as we want vertically. But free space should be available to do that, like this. So let's say we placed our rook here. It's our opponent's turn. Let's say our opponent moves his pawn 1 tile to the front. So now let's see how the rook can eliminate another player. So the rook will eliminate another player if it lands on the tile of the piece. So let's say this is our rook. We're going to move it in a straight line vertically, land on the piece, on the pawn of our opponent, and eliminate it like that. So now let's say our opponent moved his rook backwards 1 tile. Now it's us again. We can see we can move vertically. We can eliminate his knight. We can move horizontally to the left, we can eliminate his rook, or we can move horizontally to the right and eliminate his pawn. Let's eliminate his rook by going horizontally to the left, like that. There we go. This is how the rook moves around the board. Moving on to the strongest piece on this board is the queen. The queen can move in any direction, horizontally, vertically, diagonally. So it's our opponent's turn. You can see how many options the queen has. It can go vertically like that, horizontally, diagonally. So let's say our opponent moves his queen right there. It's our turn again. You see our queen can go vertically, horizontally. It can go diagonally because we have pieces blocking it. So let's say we place our queen right there. Now it's our opponent's turn. So the way a queen eliminates another piece on the board is by landing on the tile the piece is on. So now the queen right there can go straight vertically as much tiles as it can and eliminate the bishop right here. A queen cannot jump over another piece like the knight. The knight can jump over pieces on the board. All of the other pieces cannot do that. So here the queen is going to go straight and eliminate our bishop right there. And finally, the last piece on our board is the king. The king can move only one tile at a time. It can go in any direction it wants. So here's our king. It can go in any direction. So let's say we're going to go horizontally to the left. It's just one tile, but in any direction it wants. So let's say our opponent's going to move his king right there. We move our pawn one tile to the front right here. It's our opponent's turn again, and you can see how many options the king has. It can go horizontally, vertically, diagonally, but it can only do that one tile at a time, so it can't go like that. It can only go one tile in any direction it wants. So let's say our opponent is going to place his king right there. So the way a king eliminates another piece on the board is by landing on the same tile as the piece. And remember, the king can only move one tile at a time. So here the king is going to go back one tile and eliminate our knight. Now, moving on, we're going to see the two most difficult concepts in chess for beginners. It's the check and the checkmate concept. So the check is when your king is under attack. So we're going to move our rook here and place it here. You'll see the message appear, the check message right here. So the way to avoid a check is by either moving the king, because if you don't move the king or don't do anything, the rook is going to eliminate the king. So to avoid a check, you either gonna move the king and to avoid the check, or place another piece in front of your king to protect it. So let's say that our opponent is gonna move his king right there to avoid the check. So now it's our turn again. We're gonna move our queen right there. We check our opponent's king again, because if the opponent doesn't do anything, the queen is gonna eliminate his king. So what our opponent is gonna do now is use his queen to eliminate our queen, and there's no more check anymore. So to avoid a check, you can either move your king or move another piece of your pieces to protect your king. Moving on to the last concept of the game, which is the checkmate. A checkmate means that your king is attacked and you can't do anything to defend against that attack. So here we're going to move our rook and place it right there. This is how the game ends. Our opponent can't move his king in a place where it's not attacked. So if he moves to cell A8, our rook is going to attack him from here. If he stays here, which he can't, our rook also is going to attack him from here. If he goes to cell A6 right here, our bishop is going to attack it. And if he goes to cell B6, sorry, our pawn will attack it as well. So, and he can't move any other piece to defend against that attack. So this is how he loses the game. This is the end of the video, guys. I hope you liked the content I'm providing. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. It will help it grow, and see you on the next one.